The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Shannon.
Present.
Representatives McDonald.
Present.
Conlon.
Here.
Farhat.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Hoskins.
Here.
Miller. Hersberg.
Here.
Outman.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Bruck.
Present.
Kuntz.
Here.
St. Germain. Mr. Chair, you have 12 members present. You do have a quorum.
Okay, so Chair, I need a motion to adopt the minutes for our last meeting on November 12th. Representative Hoskins makes that motion. Seeing no opposition, the minutes are adopted. You're gonna have to bear with me here, guys. All right, so today we have a very short, so the minutes are adopted. Okay. Today we have a very short agenda. We'll be hearing testimony on House Bill 5944 and 5945. The committee will go at ease.
The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Here to speak on House Bills 5944 and 5945 is Chair Shannon. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee for having me here today to discuss House Bill 5944 and 5945. These bills will establish a local agency disaster relief program and create a local disaster relief board to assist with repairing and replacing crucial infrastructure following a local or state level declared emergency. House Bill 5945 would create the fund for the local agency disaster relief board within the state treasury and redirect up to $5 million each year from the current Michigan Transportation Fund that has been designated for credit to the fund. House Bill 5944 would update the Income Tax Act for a change that would be made by House Bill 5945. These bills would also create a process to securing funding by having local road agencies submit a funding application to the local agency disaster relief board. The board would be made up of members appointed by the County Roads Association, Michigan Municipal League, MDOT, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, the Department of State, and an engineer who will be appointed by the County Roads Association. After we go back shortly, you'll be hearing from Ed Noyola from the County Roads Association, who will be speaking more on these bills. So thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for your time today.
Thank you. The committee will go at ease.
Thank you, Chairman Shannon. I appreciate the time here.
The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Continuing the conversation, we have Ed Noyola and Ron Kendall from the County Roads Association. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Shannon. Members of the committee, before I begin, I want to let you know that I dropped off a folder that has copies of the PowerPoint presentation and another document within it that I'll be talking about in a few minutes. I'm here to strongly support House Bill 5944 and 5945. Over the past decade, Michigan has undergone countless disasters or major emergencies. Before I get into those individual disasters, or some of those individual disasters, I'd like to talk about the real problem road agencies are encountering. The biggest problem when an emergency strikes then turns into a disaster. The who and the how are how road agencies go to pay for the cleanup, the closure, the repairs, the replacements of their facilities. Facilities meaning their roads, culverts, bridges, including manpower that's being used, equipment that's being used, and material for intended normal operations. That does, and you have to look at it from what they're looking at. Their concerns are the motoring public and emergency service getting to where they need to be. Over the past decade, the decade, There have been billions of dollars in damage. But as you will hear, the dollar amount is compounded when it comes to replacing our facilities. Why? Because of design upgrades, the cost of material, environmental mandates, etc. For a small rural road county agencies, or for that matter, for an urban agency, the cost is unbelievable. The cost incurred at the initial and immediately following the disaster or the emergency is needed to protect the motoring public. We don't think about the cost. We think about the public. Some of you may be thinking, well, isn't that what FEMA's for? Well, not necessarily. You see, local agencies have the duty to respond to these emergencies, and they don't think about the cost. But FEMA is thinking about the cost. They're using the cost to determine whether it's going to be declared a disaster or not. And when you look at the increased cost by some of those things that I just mentioned, increasing our design, looking at cross sections, bank full, culverts that we cannot replace at the same size. There's not a culvert that we've replaced in the past decade that is of the same size. We have to upsize. That upsize is not included in the FEMA cost for the damage. That's what determines whether it's declared a disaster or not. So now we're adding insult to injury by not being allowed to include that in our estimates for replacement or fix. That's a problem. That's a problem for us, and it always will be. Excuse me. Take the 2022-23 early spring break, spring melt in the UP. Added all the cities and the counties' damage that was done. The initial cost was $70 million. However, the feds allowed just under 10 million as acceptable damage that was done to the infrastructure, and the declaration did not come through. We appealed that twice at the federal level, and both times we were denied the damage or the damage incurred. That's a big problem. Upsizing to meet Eagle requirements are really, really costly. If you have to upsize a culvert or a bridge, and bridges are not immune from the upsizing mandate. So we're constantly looking at how much is this going to cost, and then here comes the sticky part. We still have to match the federal FEMA money. It comes with a match requirement. So not only are we using all of our operational monies or surplus monies that we might have into taking care of business immediately, we're also looking at how are we going to match the federal aid. Yes, there is state emergency money that's allowed, or that we could apply for, and that's been considered and has been agreed to as to helping these road agencies. The problem is, I still have road agencies sitting there waiting for some of the state and federal money to come in. So in the meantime, how do we resolve that? We resolve it by reducing or eliminating, postponing projects, postponing buying equipment. We also looking at the Department of Transportation for some help. MDOT has what's called a SIB, State Infrastructure Bank Loan Program. But again, it's a loan. It's not free money. It's not a grant. We have to pay that back at some point in time. I tip my hat to the department and their staff for all the help that they provide us with that STIP program. It's been very helpful, but at the end of the day, it's a revolving program. The money has to come back for future needs or disasters or needs for road agencies that do not have the money in hand, but they can apply for the SIB loan. Right now, let's take a look at some of the disasters that have happened here, and you can see.
Ed, did you mind if we kind of go through these slides, pretty quick?
Yeah.
Because I want to be mindful of people's time, especially since we started so late. So thank you.
Not a problem. As you can see, there's various disasters that have happened over the past decade. You can see the next one is the snow melt in 23. We also have the next one is the June 2020. That was a rainstorm flood, the dam break, I should say, up in central Michigan. 2018 was a heavy rain. 2017, again, a rain flood. 2016, rain flood. 2016, sewer collapse in Macomb County. We had the September 2023 heavy rain. And let me stop right there. The other document that I provided you was the disaster fiscal recovery program. In 2020, or maybe even before that, we discovered that we were not really taking care of our members very well when it came to disasters. All we were telling them, I shouldn't say all we were saying, we provided them the previous manager who had a disaster and what hoops and things that he had to go through in order to make sure that his his immediate costs were eligible. There's a lot of requirements from FEMA to make sure that whatever you do is documented, recorded, and is to make it eligible for funding. That is a problem. Our guys are out there trying to take care of things, keep the roads open, making sure emergency services are available or can get to those locations. And we're not thinking about the cost, so we tend to forget about that. We went through a international organization called ICF in order to help us develop what a fiscal recovery playbook would look like. They are national. They're international, internationally known for their assistance in huge disasters like hurricanes, like monsoons, like tornadoes. They are well known across the globe. So they, along with an ad hoc committee of people or groups and associations from within the Michigan area, the Michigan Municipal League, the Township Association, State Police, so on, we all got together and tried to figure out how can we best serve our members so that they have something at the ready when the disaster hits. This way they know what's going to be asked of them and what they need to do to prepare. They can either just take the book or they can use the fob or the stick, the memory stick that's in our booklet, and use that to read while they're out there working, or hopefully prior to, they have a chance to look at it and really get a good feel for what is going to be asked of them in the very near future when it comes to applying for FEMA or state emergency funding. That concludes my comments.
That was great. Thank you. And I will note that this sinkhole here in Macomb County it wasn't technically in Sterling Heights, but right across the street. Obviously, that home no longer exists. So,
Right.
So I do have a couple, at least one question so far. If we could be brief in our questions and brief in our answers. If you have anything we're not voting today, so if there's more in-depth questions that you'd like, I'm sure you could reach out to Ed. But first up, we have Representative Kuntz.
Mr. Noyola, are any of the members of this board compensated?
No.
Do we need to add a COLA to the amount, the $50 million amount?
I think that would be up to the legislature to make that decision.
You should be in politics.
I sort of am.
Any other questions? Okay, all right. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is Thursday and everybody wants to get on the road and get home, so thank you for your patience. And then also, before we go, I need to read in some cards. And glasses here. Okay, so Madeline Fata from the Michigan Association of Counties does not wish to speak, supports the bill. And Mark Polsdorfer from MDOT does not wish to speak, oppose as written, working with the sponsors. I need a motion to excuse absent members. Representative Herzberg makes that motion. And seeing that there being no objection, the motion prevails by unanimous consent. And we are now officially adjourned.